Alright, so welcome back. So in this wonderful and exciting tutorial, I'll be trying to build a very simple application in Streamlit, which is going to be just a simple application that gives an overview of all the large language models, right? So we have the LLM list, which shows different large language models based on our filters. So you can see them here. I can click on this and then I can search for the particular one. So let's say Meta. Right, so you have 11 results. If I go with Llama, we have 24. Right, I can download and reduce it. I can also specify based on the filters like this, as you can see. Then if I go back to the LLM stats, that gives us the statistics of different of the top LLM models, which is based on downloads. So if I click on downloads, you see a simple bar chart here with the information about it, right? The name of the model together with the downloads, which is quite huge. And then we also have the pie charts of the same information above. I can also change the metrics. So let's say I want the likes. You can see that this is based on likes, and it's also changing automatically. This is based on the context window, so the highest with the context window here. In case I want to see this actual information not in a bar chart, I can just come back here and then I have my dialog pop up with the downloads, and I can also select the likes to see the actual information. So this the number of likes, the one with the context window, right? And then the score. Perfect. I can also go to the leaderboard here, so I can get the information from here to see the leaderboard, or I can go back to the leaderboard section and I'll see my LLM leaderboard, which is based on some parameters like the maintainer, license, contest length, MC bench, human eval, right? Okay. Then I can also get the top models by the contest length for the leaderboard, right? So LLM leaderboard. So we have CodeMistra based on the contest length, that is so far, and jumper instruct, but I can change it from here to, let's say, MC bench, and then this is based on MC bench. I can also do the same thing for the human eval, which of them has the highest, right? And then you can also see contest length. If I come down here, you can also see a scatter plot, right, of the various models, and then the number of their contest window or contest length. You can of course add more to it, but this is a simple app that you are building. Then let's see one more. If I go back again to the ask session here, I can ask LLM list, right, to just search for information about a model. So if I go back and I say Meta, so this is going to run this information and give us all the information in our database or in our CSV file, and then give us this option here, right? So not just connecting to a large language model, but this is talking to our database, right? It's not connected to any LLM. So Meta Llama is 3.p, instructed the latest version with the information, then it gives you this table here, right? Very cool. So if I go back again, I do something like, let's say Llama, then we can check for something different. So based on the information that we have here on this list, so we have Llama, we have DeepSpeak, we have Gamma. So I can go back again and check for, or ask it, so Gamma. So it's going to go through it and then give us the response. So we have 7B, 2.9B, 1.1, 7B, and the rest, right, with all the information about it. So let's see how to build this wonderful application in this tutorial. We're going to build it from scratch, and then we'll see later on if we can deploy it on Docker or something. So let's see how to do that. So I'm just going to go back again to our workspace here, which is the old one. So let's stop the old application that is running, and then I will, as you can see, there are some apps I've also built. You can see from here what is coming in the future. Then inside here, let's create a new app, and I'll call it as LeaderBoard or LLM, or let's create an actual project. Maybe you just put it on this later. So I'll go back here. I'm doing an end-to-end project, so I'll just go to my JCharisTech, right, and then we just create a project there. So I'll create a repository, and then we'll just deploy it later on, right? So I'll come back here, go to new, and let's call it as my LLM LeaderBoard, right? Or something. I can just give it any name. So LLM LeaderBoard or LLM list stack, right? Something like this, based on the name that you want to give it. And then, so let's go back here. I'm just looking for a better name. LLM list. Yeah, this is a better name. So LLM list, something like this is better. Yes, that's right. So this, I'll make it public, and then let's make it readme. Then we just start and create a project. Then I'll clone this. I want to just keep track of it, so I'll copy this one here, go to our location, then let's make a directory. Oh, sorry for doing all of this. So git clone here, and then we will start moving to it. You want to just build a project, then I'll create my virtual environment. So virtual env. So I'm doing an end-to-end project to be able to show everything that we have here, right? So this wonderful application that we have here, right? So now let's env script activate, then pip install. We need Streamlit, we need pandas, right? So these are the two main tools we need, just Streamlit and pandas, and then we also need Plotly Express. So these are the two main packages that we need. So Streamlit, pandas, and Plotly. The reason we are using Plotly is to help us with our plots that we saw. So there were some plots, so we need Streamlit, we need Plotly for that, and then we need pandas to help us with our manipulation of our database, of our data, and then Streamlit to give us our interface. Okay, so just finish. So whilst it's doing that, let's see the structure of our application. So I'll go back again to my project. You can also create a project and give some information about your plan and everything here, but you will not do that, right? Okay, so let's see the structure of it. So first we will go back here. We are using navigation and then multi-page to build our application, and then what we will do is that we would also want to do first one page, right? You have one page with the information, then you also have another page and another page, right? So just 3 pages. So one for the home page with the axe. So this is going to be our axe LLM page, right? We have one page like that for the axe LLM, then we have another page for the list. So yeah, that's finished. It's taking some time. We have one page for the LLM list and another page for the LLM LeaderBoard. So these are the main stuff we are doing to make our work easy. Sorry for it being, yeah. So now it has finished, hopefully. Then I'll open another page because it's taking some more time. Come back here to my list to the right. Let's start building some stuff. So perfect. So inside here we have my VN, then I can just create my main file, so app.py. Then you can also create, let's say, a directory and put them there. So directory, because that's my data, where my data is going to be, and then you can also do one for the pages, right? So we have this structure. So we have my app.py, my pages, my data, where the data is going to be, and then the rest. So let's env script activate, Then let's open this with VS Code. So code dot, and then we start writing some code. So let's trust this folder. Yes, I trust it because it's me. And then we will continue here. Okay. So let's start. So inside here, first we just give the structure. So import Streamlit as st, right? And then the reason pylons is giving this error is that it has not finished installing everything, but once it's finished, this error will go. Then the next thing is I'll define my first home page. We are using the right, so st.title, I'll call that home, and then I'll just create my def.ax LLM page, which will be my st.title. Let's go that as LLM, and then I'll create another one for my list page, so LLM list page, st.title LLM list, and then the last one is going to be LLM LeaderBoard. So st.title LLM LeaderBoard. Right, which of them is clean? So we have our 4-page. Yeah, I can just take off the home and let's make it an about. You will keep this as the first page, so I'll call this one as my about page. Right, perfect. Now to work with the navigation, I can just go with my page, or let's call it as about. It's going to be my st.page. Then I'll pass in my title of the page, which is my about page. Then I'll give the title of that page, which is going to be about, and I can specify an icon because we need an icon. So the icon is going to be material slash, say, about is mostly info, or yeah, something like this. So with this option here, we have our pages that we want to use, and we are specifying that, okay, this is the page we want to use. Right, perfect. So this is something that you have done. So I'll repeat the same for the next pages. So we have one for about, one for the LLM, and this will be Ax LLM. Then I'll just call it as chat. Then do the same thing here for LLM list, and one for the LLM list page. Then this will be list. Then this final one is going to be the LLM LeaderBoard page, which will be LLM LeaderBoard. And the LeaderBoard mostly goes with this option. So let's go as LeaderBoard, right? Which of the models are leading, and I'll call this one as you can just give this one as, let's say, stars or something else, right? So you can call it as favorite, like a star. So we have these 3 pages. So the about page, Ax LLM, and then the LLM list, which is going to be the stats page, right? So we can call it as stats, right, so that it makes sense. Right, perfect. So we can also add another one to it, so in case you want, based on whatever you want it to be. So let's add the 4th one and call it as stats. Okay, and then this we can call it as analytics, right? Okay, perfect. So we are done with it. So let's see, it has finished. As you can see, it has finished installing everything that we need. Then let's run it. So in case I want to run my app, I can just go to Streamlit, run my app.py. Then if I run it, it's going to open my default browser and listen on a specific port, which is this port we have here, right? Because we need the list page, stars and leaderboard, right? You can just, yeah, these two page. So I'll go back here, and then we cannot see anything. So the reason we are not seeing anything is we need to tell Streamlit of what to do, right? Of the navigation. So st, so this is going to be navigation. So st, so we'll call it as pg, then st.navigation. Then here it takes in a list, so I'll just pass in, let's use a session. So I'll pass in my home page, home, and then inside this I'll just pass in what is the main application. So the main ones we have is the Ask LLM. So Ask LLM, and then we have the LLM stats, right? And then we can also add the rest, which is going to be, let's say, the LLM leaderboard. So we have 3. Then another one is going to be my about. So inside the about, I'll just specify a list of my about page, and then you can add any others in there. So now if I go back to this, I always run, we have it here. So we have my home page, the Ask LLM page, the leaderboard, and then the stats. There is one we forgot, which is the list page. So let's go to LLM list page. There we have 4 now, perfect, and then we can have it here, right? And then to be able to navigate to the page, I have to pg.run, and then I can now navigate to the page. So if I click on it, we are navigating to the page, perfect. So we are done with the basic structure. Now let's move on and add the other features to our individual app. So first I'll go back again to the app here. Let's make it this way. First, let's work on the list page. We want to show what is here, right? So let's see how to do that. So to show what is there, we will create some functions to load the data. So def load my data, and then this takes in the data that I want to load, and then we use pandas to load the data. So import pandas as pd, and then I will just go with return pandas or pd.read underscore csv that particular data, right? So this is what we're using to read our data. Fit. Then we also need to read the data. So let's start with it. So before my application, I'm going to create my df, and I'll call it as load. Then I can pass in the data. So I do not have the data yet. The data is going to be inside this directory. So I'll copy the data, which is here. So there's so many stuff. My fella of Deutsch. Okay, so I have this one, and then here. I'm going to paste in the data that you'll be using, and I may keep the data in a repository or as it comes. Then I'll put it there so that you're going to see the data now. So if I go back here and I check, you see that we have the data here, right? So this is the data we want to use. So I'll load the first one, which is going to be my data. Then this data goes in with the LLM clean, right? So we have the LLM models. There's one for have multiple data, but let's go with the leaderboards first. CSV, and then we do another one for def, the same thing, but to be a different data set, right? which will be another data set that we want to use to make our work simple. So that is going to be so this is a clean list. So we have this one, and then we have the clean list. So we have 2. If I go back here, we have 3. Right. So now, how do we see this data? Right. So in case I want to see this data inside my list page, I'll just come down here and then do st.dataframe, and I'll pass in my df. If I go back here and I switch to the list page, so we have our data. So one of our features is done, but we want to be able to also, we want to show a filter to be able to filter it out. So to show the filter, I can just go to let's say quick filters. So I can just go multi select, then I'll pass in the filters, then I'll pass in the df dot columns is one way dot to list. So in this option here, now we have the options here that we can select from, right? So you can select quickly like this, and then once I select, we are supposed to pick that field here. So how do we get it? So I'm just going to pass in here my data. It's going to be my quick filters. So now whatever I select is automatically shown, right? Perfect. So we are done with a very simple feature with the LLM list with this option here. Now let's move on from here to another part of the app, which is, we have seen how to do the list page. Let's move on to the next page, right? Which is, we have gotten the about page. We have gotten, let's save it here. We have got this done. Now let's go with the Ask LLM. So how do we create a field in which we can type something to get information about it, right? So before we do that, let's do the one for the stats, right? Because the same data. So you do the one for the stats. I'll just go back here. The same data that we have, I want to work on the stats. So it's very simple. What I'll do is that I want to get the data from it. So I'll call as metric. The metric is going to be st.select box. Now pass in my metric. So metric. Then inside here, I'll just pass in my downloads. So if I go back here, we have my downloads here. And then in case I want to use those metric, I can just go with, let's create a column. So column, let's go straight away without the column. And we'll do that later. I can just go back and specify what I want to select. I want to select the top 10 models per metric, right? So we want to do that. So how do we do that? So I just get my top models, which is going to be my df.n largest. Then inside my n largest, I'll specify the columns that I want to fetch from, which is the same as the metric that I've selected. Then n is equal to 10, and then I can just specify which fields I want to choose. So model name, and then let's say maintainer, right? And then we can just give let's say the stats, the metric that we selected. So if I go back here, I can just do my bar chart, which is going to be my bar figure. So ps that we need to use Plotly to help us plot it. So I'll just come down here, import Plotly, express as ps, and then I'll just go back here and I'll go with my chart. So we have bar, which takes in my top model, and then it takes in the column. The column I want to use is the model name column, and then The y is going to be the metric that we chose, which must be numeric. Then we can just specify the color. So the color, I want the color to be the maintainer. Right. Then how do we plot this? So it's saying, okay, maintainer and downloads are not found, right? So the reason is they are not found within the data frame that you are using. So that's why it's failing. So we need to ensure that they are there. So let's hide this. Then let's see the data. So st.data frame. Then my df.metric. So we have downloads is there, right? And then the other one. So we have model name. So we have to make sure that this model name is there. We have maintainer, size, and the rest, right? So these names are there. So that means that this will work. And the reason this is not working is because of this. So metric does not exist in this way. So key error, model name, maintainer, and downloads cannot be found. So let's see where we're getting the error from. Here. Right, so columns, metric, yeah, I know why. This must be a list, right? This is pandas issue. And it's work. So this now is supposed to work if all things are okay. Now, how do we plot this? So to plot this, I just go with my st.plotly chart. Now passing my bar figure. If I save it, now it's that we have our first plot, right? The plot is working. I can quickly change the data from here to another one. So in case I pick something else, so we have downloads, we have the likes. We are only just using the metrics. The metrics ones, not every one of them, right? So this, so we contest likes download. So we have the contest video. If I go back here, now I can select them. So likes, it changes, and then our plot also changes, right? Perfect. So let's take off this because we don't need it anymore. And then since we have done a bar chart, we can also do another one for a pie chart with the same logic, and then a scatter plot. So let's call this one as pie chart, pie figure, and then this is pie. Right. So this is one way. Now, so it got an X. So the reason is because Plotly doesn't have an X for this, but rather it has a names for the, so names. Now if I go with this option here, so let's save it, you have the names, and then the Y is no more Y, the Y is values, right? And now we have one more, and in case I want to plot this, I can just go with my pie figure, and we have it here. Right, perfect. So let's do the same thing for the scatter. So to do the scatter, I just go with my scatter figure, and this is Plotly scatter, and the Plotly scatter takes in X and Y as usual. So this will work, and then I'll just go with my scatter. And now we have the fourth plot, right? So that is how to build the stats page. So let's take one of them out. So we have the bar, the Plotly, yeah. So let's save it, and then let me refresh. if I go to the stats page, so we have our 3 plots, right? So we have the pie chart, the bar chart, pie chart, and the scatter plot. But we also want to give it some name, right? So we want to list the name of the plot in the respective place. So I can simply do something like this in front of the plot, right, to give the name, or I can just do it on top of everything so that it's here. This one here, so we have, if I always run, so top models by, right, something like this, by downloads, something like this, and I can just go by this scatter, and this will be pie chart, and this will be bar chart. Right, so that we have it here. So if I expand it now, we have pie charts, bar charts, and the rest, right? So if I switch it now, it automatically change, context changes, right? Very cool. And we have everything working as expected. We need a pop-up here that shows the actual data, right? So that in case the person doesn't want this, the person can actually get the data. So we go back to the top of our app here, and then I'm just going to go create some columns. So column 1 and column 2 and then column 3. It's going to be my st.columns, then I'll pass in 1 1 1. Then with column 1 I can just go with my st. We want to show a dialog box, right, with that information. So how do we do that? So simply I can just come down here outside of my app, I'll create my function, so show LLM stats as table. Then this is going to pick the data that we have here. So it's going to pick this data that we got from here, right, this particular data that we generated from the plot, and then we want to use that data within our plot, right? So we want to have a feature in which the person can actually do the same thing that we are having here. So I can copy this entire metric stuff here and then use it within it, right? And then I'll just go back again and then copy this and use it, because we want to show this plot for the user, right? Perfect. And then I can now go with my st.dataframe. Now passing my top models here. Now we have a function. Now how do we make it dialog box? We just go with the Streamlit.experimental dialog box. CI is supposed to be st. Yeah, it's a decorator. st.experimental dialog, and this one takes in the name, so I can call it as my LLM list, right? And this will be my stats. If I save it, how do I use it here? So to use it here, I just come down here and then I'll call that function here. So st show, oh yeah. Now, so show name is not defined. So the reason this is saying that it's not defined is that I have defined it, but I need to have a button to show it, right? So let's go with something like this. So if st.button is equal to, say, LLM stats, if that's the case, then I want to run this function. So we have the function here. So if I run it, it's not defined. So why is this not defined? So I'll go back here, and you have to ensure that it's the same name. So this is the name. So show LLM table, same here, but the simple solution is that I can define it before the page I want to show, right? Instead of defining it at the end of this call, I can define this one before the navigation runs. So I can do it here, and now it's defined before it runs, right? So it's giving us duplicate keys. So the duplicate keys because of the metric here. So we have metric. I can just put a space here, and now it's different. So our app is now working as expected. So I can just come down here, and then we have a button. So LLM stars, we have a pop down, and I can select, and you see the data change. Data is changing, right? Perfect. You can actually do so you can do the same thing for, we have the one for the chart. We can do the same thing for the entire data from which we are doing the plot. So we can just do the same thing here, and then a third one. So we have 1, 2, 3, right? So this will be the actual list, and this I can cut as show LLM list as table, and I need to define it. So I can come down here, and then before my navigation, I'll do the same thing here, and this one will call it as show LLM list as table. This will be just list, not the stats. Then yeah, I can just show the entire data set, or without this filter, I can just show the entire data set. I don't want to filter, I want to show the entire data. So this will be DF. Now, so saying that there are multiple columns, so ST button ST, I'll have to go back here and then change this one. So this is ST list, and this will be the leaderboard. Now we have one for the stars showing this information, one for the list showing everything, and then we have one for the leaderboard which doesn't have the right data yet, right? You have seen how to build a very simple LLM stars window. Now let's move on and go to the leaderboard. So we are done with the stats. We can just go to the leaderboard, and before we come to the axe, right? So I'll go back again to the leaderboard. There's nothing here, and it's going to follow the same logic but with different data. So I'll come down to the leaderboard here, following the same or similar logic, right? So it's going to be have the quick filters. So quick filters here, st.multi select. Then I'll go with my filters. Then I'll pass in the list of the model, right? So this is using a different but similar model. So I'll go back here, and then I'll pass it here, right? So this data is different, and then in case I want to show the data, I'll just go with st.dataframe. I'll pass in my df leaderboard. I want to show you the data. So this is the data, right? So the data is totally different from the other one. This is with more information. So this is the default, but we can have multiple columns here to show, and this is the default. I can just say something like this, right? And then I can now pass in my quick filter here, and then we are done, right? So if I select this, that it changes automatically. Perfect. So we are done with the leaderboard here. We want to also add the different metrics to it to be able to select, just as we did above, right? So how do we add the metrics? Just as we did, the metric is going to be st.select box. Now pass in my metric, In this case, we don't want to have all the metrics. We just need the contest length, because that is numeric. We also need to show the human eval, that's also numeric. And then we also want to show the contest or empty bench, right? So we only just the numeric values, so empty bench. Perfect. Now we have gotten our metric here that we can show. Perfect. And I want to also pick the top, so the top n models, right? So this one can also do the same thing that we did here, the same logic we did here. We can do the same, right? So I'll just copy this because it's going to be the same logic, but this time is for all of them. So now this will not be here, this will be changed. LeaderBoard, right? So this now is not the LeaderBoard, right? Now passing the metric that I want, and so that automatically we have it working, right? Just duplicate it and it works. You can see that we have the top models, right? Cloud, okay. So this is one of the ways of showing the top models per the LeaderBoard, right? So we have one here. So now if I come down here, I can just select human eval, and then we have the human eval here together with the plots, together with the scatter plots, right? Okay, so let's take off this because we don't need to show. We can show the LeaderBoard here, but I want to hide this. I want to not show it directly, or we can just show it, but I also want to have some columns there, right? Just as we had the other way. So I can do the same and create the columns that we want to use. So under the metric, I want to create a column here that shows the stats of what we are choosing. So I need to create a function called show stats as table for LeaderBoard, which is going to follow the same thing we did here. So the same, but with a different table. So show stats so let me give the same name. Yeah, the naming is funny, but I'm making it explicit, right? And this will be the LeaderBoard. So now if I come back here, we have the button. If I click on it, we have it here, right? But the data is not showing anything because we could not find fragment with ID. So we have to go back here. Yeah, the reason is you could not find it's metrics. If I click on this, it's funny how it's not showing the data. Yep, I know why. The reason it can't find is that these things don't exist in this our data, right? So we don't have downloads, we don't have context length. We have context length there, but not download. So if I save it and then I click on here, so we have the data showing, right? That's why it was not showing. So we need to pick the same metrics that we used here, this matrix. We need to pick the same matrix and use it here. And now it works. Right. So if I click on this, now we can select and it's working. Okay. So we are done with that. Now let's move on from here to the Ask LLM and then we are done, right? So we have got the list that shows all the data that we want, which is cool. We have got the LLM stars that shows the models based on their boards, right? You can click on this, get the information, get the plots, working perfectly well. Then we also need to ask the LLM, right? So this is going to be the last one. So how do we ask the LLM? So I'll just go back again. I'm putting all of them in one file, but you can split them, right? So I just put them all in one file, then to make it simple. Now I want to use the chat model, the chat element to help me with that, right? So I can just go back again and specify here that and so the search, you can give it some simple name. So search model, it's going to be or raw input st.chat input. Then I'll pass in my search LLM. Right. If I go back, you have search for LLM, and I can just type in something here, right? Now once I type in there, I want to search. I don't want to call an external API. I want to talk to my data itself, this data, right, to get the information. So how do I do that? So say if search model, then st.write some information, right? So f, so here is some info about that particular model that was sent. So I save it here and I type something like say hello. So here's some info about hello, right? Then I want to search. So I've got the result data frame. I'll search through my data frame that I have for that particular model. So I'm searching for the model name. Then I want to get all the place that contains that particular search model. But this I'll call this to title case. Right, perfect. And once it comes, I will now return it, right? So if I go back here, I can now return it as a dictionary. So st.dataframe. So result df. If I save it, now if I type in meta, so we have information about data, and there are about 4 different rows, but I want to put them in a nice format, right, individually. So I'll have to look through them and I have to convert them into something better, right? So let's see how to do that. So I can just go back and then convert the entire result as dictionary. And how do I convert a to dictionary? I can just go to dict, and I'll specify the orientation going to be records, right? So there is split, there is type, there is records. And now if I go with st.write, I want you to see the result. I save it now and I type say meta. So now it is in this format, right? So since it's in this format, I can return it back as a data frame, or I can insert this dictionary into a template, right? So let's see how to do that. So it's going to be for my I in my results as dict. I want to get the model name, going to be my I.get model name. So this is, we are using this dictionary, right? So get model name. So I can do something like this. Right, so we can just do something like this. Right. So model name is getting this model name, maintainer is this maintainer, size is the size, and then you can also add the rest, right? So let's say size and score. Perfect. So how do I now show it? I can now create a template, and I'll call it as template test. I'll use f-string and I'll insert my data there. And this is going to be something like this. So let's say, so the model name, so it's the latest version of, say, maintainer, right? Something like this. And now if I want to show this, I can just go back and go with st.chat message. I'll pass in, so we can call it as bot or something. I think it's a bot. Then I'll just go with result template dot format. Then here I'll pass in the model name. Let's go to model name maintainer. Let's go to maintainer, right? Something like this. Then I just go with my st dot write my result. I save it now and I type in meta. So we have meta 1, meta 2, meta 3, meta 4, right? So this is one of the ways we can show the result, right? So let's go to user. So if I go with, now I don't need to show this anymore because we have seen what it does. I don't need to show this anymore because we have seen what it does. I save it and I go back here. So meta is blah blah blah, right? But we want to stream this data, right? We don't want it to be just like that. So how do we stream it? Right? We want to use Streamlit stream to help us stream the data. So I'll come back to the top of my file here. Then let's create a function called stream test, right? And then I'll pass in my test that I want to stream. I'll specify a delay as usual. So let's give it as a delay of float. As usual, it's going to be 0.02. This can be a string because it's always a string. And then I'll just say forward in test split. We are splitting them to get it one after the other. Then I'll yield it plus some space to have it word at a time. Then I'll just put a delay. So sleep my delay. So the reason we are using yield is to convert our test into a generator to make it more performant. So import time. And I can come down here. Let me show you the results. So Streamlit write stream. Now passing my result to my stream test. So if I go back here and I type in meta, so Streamlit has no, it's supposed to be write stream without m. Meta, and now it's streaming, right? Perfect. But we also want to show the data frame. So how do we show the data frame? So for example, I can do something like st.data frame, right? And I'll pass in my results, right? The results as df. Again, I want to pass in that as a data frame. So what I mean is something like this. I want to not just show the text but also show something. So let me copy the entire template to make it more verbose. So this template will now become this, right? So now if I go back here and I say something like meta, yeah, something like this, so that we have the table just below, right? But we don't want to get all the table. We want to get the first row of that table, which is the respective information here. So how do we do that? So I can just come down here and say my summary df is going to be pd.dataframe. Then I'll pass in my I. So this is going to convert the entire stuff into data frame, and I want to return this one here. So if I go back here and I say meta, right, so this is how to do that. But how do you, in case you want to stream this one to, how would you have done that, right? In case I wanted to stream this, I can also do the same thing by going back here and create a simple function to stream it. So this is just for streaming of the text, but in case I also want to stream the data frame, how would you do that in case there's multiple, right? So you can simply do something like this. What I mean is this. Let's go with right. If I save this here and I say Ulama, right? There's nothing like Ulama, so meta, and this one just came together, right? In case I want to stream it like this, how will I do that? I can come down here and create a function like this function here. Let's go to def.stream data frame. I'll pass in my data frame that I want to stream. I'll specify the delay like usual. And then I'll just go with for I in range, right? I want to loop through the data frame that I have, the length of data frame. Then I can just say yield. So yield my df.iloc, then I'll pass in that data frame, right? Then I can just specify time to sleep, just like above, to have some delay. So let's see. Now if I go back here, I want to use it. So instead of this, I can just go with my stream df. I'll pass in here, save, and I can just pass in meta. So it's unable to convert object of type class generator to pandas offending object. So this fails because it's failing because we are trying to run it here, right? So in case I want to change it, I have to use the right stream because that's the function I want to use. So no more using this, I want to do this. So meta. You see how it's going? So that is, so it's bringing it out one at a time. So let me try it again. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to do. So we can reduce this one to use a summary. So now if I do meta, sorry that we are using meta all the time. You can see that now it's going this way, right? So that is how to build a simple application in Streamlit. With time we can improve upon it and make it better, but that is something very basic. So we have the Ask LLM, in which you can ask something about the model. So I can just go back to something like, let's say, what is phi? So phi 3 model, it gives the information, it gives the table below, right? And it's what it's doing, is picking the information here and inserting into our prompt. And so we have seen how to get the list of the application, which works perfectly well. We can give a default so that by the time you come here, you have it there. You have the option to ask something about the DBRS. Okay, so there is no DBRX. It's funny. Okay, there is one. So DBRX extract, right? I need to take off this, so I'll do that later. Perfect. And then if I go to the LLM stats, we have the stats in which you can see the dialog flow together with the different chats. And then you have the leaderboard, which has similar feature, right? Okay, so this is one way we have built it up, and this is one way. Now we can simplify them. Now we have this one like this, which have, so to recap, we have a simple application in which we import Streamlit and Plotly. We have functions to load our data and to stream our data, and we are loading the respective data here. You can cache this one for performance. Then we have an about page as a function, an LLM page, which have different features as the list page, stats page, leaderboard page, and then we have different dialog box here. Then we created a navigation variables page, and then we are using a session navigation here, right? And we are running it. That is the basic overview, right? Now we can put all of these individual stuff into a pages directory, like here. So I can refactor it and put them inside a pages directory and then call them here, right? So then in that case, it's going to be that particular page, right? There's another we can do that to make it more modular, but this is just one single page with multiple pages within it. So thank you for watching this tutorial. In case you have any question or contribution, you can check the links below for more, and then you can put inside the comment section below. See you another time. Stay blessed. Bye. So let's push what you have done so far to the platform. So I'll just go back here. Then first to push it, I'll just go with pip list. To see the content of it, we need to pin it. So pip freeze this to my requirements.txt, so you can push it there. So we have everything there here. We can group the application right to the pages there, but let's go straight away with git push git add or status git add. We need to ignore VS Code, so I'll just go back here, go to my git ignore Python. I need to just ignore VS Code. I don't want to show VS Code. Let's see if VS Code is there. So we can ignore VS Code by just adding the same thing that we do most of the time, like the same thing. So .VS Code will hide it so that we don't see it, because there is settings for VS Code here, right? And I don't need this. So I can just go straight away. So .VS Code. So now we are hiding everything here, right? So let's go back in. Add. But I'm surprised it was committed. That's funny. Yeah, but anyway, no worries. So git commit -m. This is a feature, and I'm going to add LLM list board. Git push, and then we are pushing it to here so that we can have it you can deploy it to Streamlit cloud, right? So we have it here, everything is there. We can also create a Docker file to run it locally, right? So in case you want to run it locally in Docker. You can also do the same thing and deploy it somewhere else. So let's see how to do that. I'll come back here. In the same location as my app, we can come back here and then create it, right? So Docker file, and then we can just create a base image. So from Python and right? You can do that later. So we do that in the next session, and then we can actually deploy this our app that we have to Streamlit Cloud. It's already running here. If I go with deploy, you can say Streamlit community for the development community, so deploy, and then it goes here. I can now sign in, right, and then deploy it, right? So let's take off this. Then I have to specify my credentials. So that is how to deploy it, right? So thank you for watching. See you another time. Stay blessed.